You know that feeling, right? Staring at just mountains of information, needing to pull out something useful, and wishing technology could just cut through it all. Find that aha moment for you. Well, today we're diving into something really interesting on that front. ChatGPT-O3 Pro. The idea is, what if an AI wasn't just like an assistant, but felt more like a genuine senior colleague, something operating way up high at a strategic level, where the really complex work gets done? That's the promise we're going to unpack. Our source for this deep dive is the Strategic Field Guide, written by an AI tech explorer who's really put O3 Pro through its paces. So our mission here is to shed light on what makes it tick, its unique capabilities, what sets it apart, really, and how it might fundamentally change how you tackle those big, intricate tasks. And the thing that really hooked the author, and honestly me too, was their first try with it. They took 10 years of product team meeting minutes, a huge pile of data, dumped it all into one prompt, and okay, they had to wait like 8 minutes, which feels long. But what came back wasn't just a summary. It was a full, actionable 90-day roadmap.
Wow.
Yeah. Complete with a risk matrix, a hiring plan, API milestones, even a single slide for the board.
Yeah.
That was the moment it felt like, okay, this isn't just a tool. This is different, like the senior colleague.
And it fits into this ongoing story, doesn't it? How these AI models keep pushing the frontier. We saw GPT-4 get deeper in reasoning, Gemini 2.5 Pro handling these massive contexts, Claude Opus writing almost, well, poetically. Each one was impressive, sure, but O3 Pro feels like a different kind of leap. It's not just scale, not just speed. It seems to be about this shift in, let's call it strategic depth.
Right, that strategic depth. That's what we need to get our heads around. So what exactly is this O3 Pro variant? What's under the hood making it so different?
All right, so it sits right at the top of OpenAI's current GPT family. You can think of it as the high horsepower version of their standard O3 engine. Spec-wise, we're talking a pretty hefty 200,000 token input context window and 100,000 out. It does text and images, and crucially, it integrates these powerful tools: file search, image editing, Python, speech, all built in. And yes, you can fine-tune it. One thing to note, though, streaming isn't available yet.
Okay, so you wait for the whole answer at once.
Exactly. No seeing it type out word by word. You wait for the complete response. But the really big deal is this architectural shift they made. OpenAI basically doubled what they call the routing layers. These evaluate different reasoning paths in parallel.
Okay, in plain English, what does that mean?
It means it sort of thinks wider. It explores many more angles, more potential solutions before it starts generating the answer.
Right, more thorough.
Exactly. Now, this takes more compute power, which is why it costs more, but the payoff is supposed to be much sharper logic, and importantly, fewer hallucinations, fewer mistakes. It's really built to handle messy, real-world stuff. It doesn't just jump to the first easy answer. It pauses, weighs trade-offs, and then writes with what the author called surgeon-like precision. That's what makes it feel like a genuine sparring partner, especially for technical leads.
That architectural shift, thinking wider, that sounds pretty profound. But okay, beyond the tech specs, we need proof, right? What does the data actually show? Both the official benchmarks and, maybe more importantly, the author's own reality checks.
Yeah, the official numbers from OpenAI's internal tests are, well, they're compelling. Take Amy 2024, that tests advanced math and logic. It got a 93% pass rate first try. Compare that to Gemini 2.5 Pro at 90%, Claude Opus at 87%, so noticeably better there. Then there's GPQA Diamond, a tough problem-solving benchmark. 84% correct. That's 9 points higher than Claude Opus. And for coding, the Codeforces simulated ELO score was 2748, which puts it way ahead of Gemini 2.5 Pro by about 230 points. And it's not just OpenAI saying this. Independent reviews confirm it outperforms open source models on things like Big Bench Hard 2. Its main weakness, retrieval. It doesn't do live web searches.
Okay, so it works with the data you give it.
Exactly. But its strengths really are in tasks needing deep math, tracking complex context over long inputs, and using those integrated tools effectively.
And the author really pushed it, didn't just look at the numbers. They ran it through this reality check gauntlet. 4 practical tests. First, a 35-page software architecture draft with gaps left in it deliberately. It came back with a clean class diagram and an interface map.
Impressive.
Then a tricky legal clause that needed simplifying. O3 Pro rewrote it, and the lawyer apparently signed off with just 2 small edits. Next, something developers will appreciate. A broken Docker Compose setup with sneaky typos, like case errors. It pinpointed the exact miscased environment variable.
That's useful. Saves a lot of time.
For sure. And finally, 5 years of client quarterly financials. It generated a 12-month cash flow projection that nailed the seasonality within 3%.
Wow. Okay, so there's a clear pattern emerging from those real-world tests. O3 Pro seems to consistently trade raw speed for this deep, consistent analysis. It rarely makes up numbers, which is huge. And critically, when it does get something wrong, the author found the error was usually obvious. Not hidden in fluent, but incorrect text.
That's a key difference. Better an obvious error than a subtle, confident one.
Exactly. This focus on accuracy and depth over just being fast, it feels like a fundamental shift. It makes it really suited for tasks where getting it right is absolutely critical.
And that shift really makes you wonder, how does this focus on depth stack up against the big rivals? Like Gemini 2.5 Pro, Claude Opus, feels like a real chess match at the top.
It does, yeah. If you look at their strengths side by side, O3 Pro gets top marks, like 5 stars, for reasoning depth and coding reliability. That's its core strength. But it's maybe slightly less strong, say 4 stars for pure idea generation compared to Gemini, or for that really polished long-form writing where Claude Opus shines.
And the trade-off is speed. Right?
Yeah, definitely. It's the slowest of the 3, maybe 2 stars there. And yes, the cost. It's significantly higher per token. O3 Pro is $20 per $1 million input tokens, $80 output. Compare that to Gemini, which is more like $1.25, or $10 and $15 for its tiers. And Claude is $15 input, $75 output.
So a big price difference.
A very big difference. So use cases become key. O3 Pro seems best for strategy, analytics, complex code review. Gemini for quick brainstorming, multimodal stuff. Claude for narrative writing, maybe more empathetic chatbot interactions. The author described a direct test between O3 Pro and Gemini 2.5 Pro, like watching a chess grandmaster versus a speed cubing champion.
Oh, okay. I like that analogy.
Gemini gives you answers fast, digests huge prompts, but sometimes the output is a bit safe. Maybe a bit like corporate boilerplate. O3 Pro makes you wait, but then it surfaces the edge cases, the constraints, the tricky bits, right when you need them.
And against Claude Opus.
That's a closer duel, maybe. Claude still seems to be the winner if you need warmth or that literary feel, a really creative narrative. But for the day-to-day grind of bulletproof numbers, complex problem-solving using tools, O3 Pro seems to be the author's pick, the reliable weekday workhorse.
This comparison really crystallizes it. It forces you, the listener, to ask, what's your main need here? Is it sheer speed? Is it creative flair? Or is it that deep, dependable strategic analysis, that senior colleague vibe? Okay, so this power sounds amazing, but let's talk brass tacks. What does it actually cost, and how do you get access?
Right, the access question. So OpenAI has a few plans. The standard ChatGPT Plus, the $20 a month one. Surprisingly, that doesn't include O3 Pro.
Oh, really? That's important to know.
Yeah. ChatGPT Pro, the older $200 a month tier, those subscribers got automatically upgraded. But for new users, the cheapest legitimate way to get full O3 Pro capability right now is actually the ChatGPT team plan. It's $30 per seat per month, but there's a 2-seat minimum.
So if you're working alone.
The authors suggest a little workaround. Find a colleague. Team up. You each pay $30, share the team workspace, and boom, you both get full O3 Pro access.
Clever. And for API users.
API pricing is that $20 per $1 million input tokens and $80 per $1 million output tokens we mentioned.
That does sound steep compared to others. The sticker shock you mentioned.
It does. But here's that crucial insight on efficiency again. The author actually saw their monthly bill go down by 40%.
How? By using the more expensive model.
Because one call to O3 Pro often got the job done right. Instead of needing, say, 3 calls or refinements with Gemini, it nailed the answer in one shot more often. So, fewer iterations, less wasted compute, less time-tweaking prompts. The higher token price was offset by needing fewer tokens overall. Efficiency trumped nominal cost.
That's a fascinating takeaway. Pay more per token, but potentially less overall if it gets it right the first time.
Exactly. And for big companies, they can negotiate custom limits and priority access, too.
Makes sense. But no tool is perfect.
Yeah.
Every cutting-edge thing has its quirks, right? What are the limitations, the practical things people need to know before jumping in, the potential facepalm moments?
Absolutely. Let's talk quirks. First, latency, waiting time. Short prompts might be okay, maybe 10 seconds, but a complex request using tools, Python, file search, that could easily take 5, even 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, definitely need to factor in coffee breaks then.
You do. And remember, no streaming yet. So it's silent, waiting until the whole answer pops up. Image generation works, but it goes through the assistance endpoint, which adds a bit more processing time, slows it down a little.
Okay.
And sometimes, if you give it a very thin prompt, not much context, it can kind of overthink it. go down rabbit holes and miss the obvious.
Right. Needs that rich context to perform best.
Seems so. And one last technical thing, API cold starts. The very first call you make in a while might have an extra 2 seconds delay.
How do you fix that?
You can pay for warm pools, basically keeping an instance ready just for you. Or the simpler way is just to ping the model every hour or so to keep it awake.
Got it. So these are operational realities.
They are, and it highlights the trade-offs. If you need super fast millisecond responses, maybe for a live chatbot, you'd probably use a smaller, faster OpenAI model. But for everything else, especially where that strategic depth is key, that extra patience usually pays off big time in the quality and accuracy you get back.
That framing is really helpful. Choosing the right tool for the job, understanding the trade-offs. Okay, now for the really practical stuff. The gold, as you said. The author lays out this playbook for daily excellence. How can you, our listener, squeeze every bit of value out of O3 Pro? What are the top strategies?
Yeah, these are great, very actionable tips. First one, feed it the haystack, then ask for the needle.
Meaning?
Don't be afraid to give it loads of context. Chunk in entire PDFs, long server logs, whatever you have. O3 Pro seems to thrive on that density.
Okay, more context is better. What else?
Second, cap the output. Tell it explicitly, like, keep the answer under 800 words or provide a 5-bullet summary. Stops it from rambling or riffing.
Good tip. Keep it focused.
Third, encourage silent reasoning. That's interesting. You add an instruction like, think step by step without showing your thoughts, then present the final answer. Apparently, this lets it process internally and can shave about 15% off the waiting time.
Ah, so it does the thinking but doesn't type it all out. Clever.
Fourth, trust its tool use. Let the model decide when to use Python or search the files you gave it. Its internal routing is smart. Don't try to micromanage that. Fifth, time box complex tasks. If you're worried about it running too long or costing too much, just add, you have 12 minutes of compute budget to the prompt. Puts a limit on it.
Practical constraint. I like it.
Sixth, cross-validate with a lighter sibling. Maybe have GPT-3.5 double-check numbers or citations from the O3 Pro output before you put it into production. Just an extra safety check.
Smart. Belt and braces.
And finally, number 7, cache aggressively. Save intermediate results, reuse conversation threads, pass back relevant history if you switch topics slightly. Saves API calls, saves money, saves sanity.
These are really concrete strategies. It feels like it's less about just writing a prompt and more about strategically interacting with the AI. So for your workflow, it means thinking about how you ask, not just what you ask, to really tap into that senior colleague potential. Looking ahead now, the AI world moves incredibly fast. What's the future look like for these GPT models? And how should people approach building things when the ground is constantly shifting?
Well, OpenAI is already dropping hints. They're suggesting maybe a late 2025 release for an O4 Mini and then early 2026 for an O4 Pro. The targets seem to be pushing context windows even further, maybe towards 500,000 tokens, and potentially having the inference time making it faster.
500,000 tokens, wow.
Yeah. And the general trend for API prices is downwards over time, usually, as the hardware gets cheaper and more efficient. And, of course, competition. You can bet rivals will release their own upgrades. It's going to stay dynamic.
So with all that change, how do you build reliably?
The author's advice is simple but powerful. Build workflows as modular Lego bricks.
Lego bricks?
Yeah. Design your systems so the AI model itself is like one block you can easily swap out. If Gemini 3 Pro or Claude 5 suddenly leaps ahead of whatever O3 Pro version is current, you should be able to just unplug the OpenAI block and plug in the new leader.
Be adaptable, don't get locked in.
Exactly. The author puts it bluntly. Loyalty belongs in sports, not in your inference layer. Your inference layer being the AI model doing the thinking. Choose strategically based on performance for your task, not based on brand allegiance. Be ready to switch.
That's a really important philosophical point for anyone building with AI today. Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive. The core message seems clear. ChatGPT-O3 Pro isn't just a faster version of what came before. It feels like a step change, operating at that strategic level, more like a senior colleague. It changes how you might plan and execute, taking messy inputs and turning them into much sharper, actionable outputs.
And it ties back to that idea that knowledge is most valuable when it's really understood and applied. This model kind of encourages you, maybe even forces you, to ask bigger questions, to be okay with that pause while it does its deep thinking, and then to really engage with the detailed, precise answers it gives you. Read them slowly.
The author leaves us with a powerful thought. They say that somewhere in O3 Pro's precise replies is the sentence that nudges your project, your career, or maybe even your life in a better direction.
Hmm.
Which brings us to a final fascinating question for you to ponder. As these AI models get even more capable, how might they unlock not just new efficiencies, but entirely new ways of thinking, new forms of problem solving that we haven't even conceived of yet? Something to think about as you explore your own information, your own haystacks with these new tools.